One of the characteristics of epithelium is that it has specialized contacts between cells, the cell junctions. These specialized contacts allow sheets of epithelium to form effective borders, allow for communication between cells, and allows the epithelium to stay intact even when it's being stretched and twisted all sorts of ways. There are four main types of cell junctions summarized here. You've got the tight junctions, you have the desmosomes, you have the hemidesmosomes, and the gap junctions. We'll go into each of these in a little bit more detail. Tight junctions are formed from integral membrane proteins that sew neighboring cells together. So if you have two epithelial cells in a sheet, tight junctions bind them together. And they bind them together in such a way that substances cannot pass between the two cells that are held together with tight junctions. So tight junctions are impermeable. So these are an important part of epithelium forming a barrier that protects underlying tissues. You can have all sorts of nasty, noxious substances on one side, but since the tight junctions are there, they cannot pass between the cells, and the tissues underneath are protected and safe. On the right here, we're looking at an actual micrograph of tight junctions, specifically in the capillary blood vessels of the brain. Tight junctions in the endothelium of blood vessels in the brain protect your neurons from toxic molecules in the blood. So basically the endothelium would be here, your neurons, delicate, sensitive tissue under here, potentially damaging molecules in the blood can't get through. You see tight junctions in most epithelium lining internal organs, and also in the skin. Desmosomes are also called anchoring junctions. They hold cells together like really strong Velcro, or like rivets. Proteins from one cell stick to proteins on the surface of neighboring cells. On the right, we can see what these junctions actually look like on an electron micrograph. Here's the plasma membrane of one cell. Here's the plasma membrane of the other cell. These shadows, there and there, those are the proteins of the desmosomes holding these two cells together. Within each cell, these surface proteins are attached to strong intermediate filaments of the cytoskeleton. So this way, it's not just plasma membrane being attached to plasma membrane, and the plasma membrane is a pretty delicate structure, but it's actually cytoskeleton of one cell anchored to the cytoskeleton of the other cell. These junctions give tissue mechanical strength, so tissues can stretch and flex, and the cells won't get pulled apart. They're most abundant in tissues that are under a lot of mechanical stress, like the skin. Imagine bumping into a doorway. Imagine putting your hand on your arm and rubbing it in circles. Your skin stays intact, and that's because your skin cells are held together tightly, in part through desmosomes. These can also be found in some tissues other than epithelium. Heart muscle, for example, has a lot of desmosomes. I think we can all agree that it's a good thing your heart doesn't rip apart every time it beats. Desmosomes help with that. Hemidesmosomes are half desmosomes. They look a lot like desmosomes, but they anchor a cell to the extracellular matrix rather than to another cell. These images are showing you hemidesmosomes attaching epithelial cells to the basement membrane, so the sheet of epithelium doesn't separate from its underlying connective tissue. Here you've got the hemidesmosome attached to the cytoskeleton, with proteins reaching out, anchoring into the basement membrane. Here you have basement membrane, epithelial cell, hemidesmosome anchoring that epithelial cell in. Gap junctions form channels between neighboring cells, like little holes or little straws stuck through neighboring plasma membranes. They're sometimes called communicating junctions because they allow small molecules, like ions, to pass directly from cell to cell. Gap junctions are found in nearly all tissue types except skeletal muscle and red blood cells, so they're not specific to epithelium. Having these communicating junctions allow a large group of cells to coordinate activity through passing ions and other molecules, like when your heart must contract as a unit. After studying this video, you really should be able to do a thorough compare-contrast of the 4 different types of specialized cell junctions. And when you're doing this, I want you to think about structure of the cell junctions as well as function. Do both.